Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Nina. It was a pleasure to work with you all on the Nancy Hanks lecture, but I'm going to take you to the words of Jerry Mulligan, who I interviewed maybe 12 years ago, and I asked him, the question was, what does it take to play a great solo? He said, well, I don't know what it takes to play one, but I can tell you how not to play one. Start off thinking, I'm about to play one. So all of that build-up, I don't know. In jazz, we have a tradition. When we make our music up, it's never the same the second time. You never try to repeat yourself, or you play something good, you'd be happy that it was good. And don't say, this next time I'm going to do this again. So it's an honor for all of us to be here. And I'd like to present this speech. It's rather long. So get a nice cup of water and you're skipping over all my words. Do that to me. Wait, go back. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. You can go where you were. You're giving me a good cue. Go ahead. You can see I'm reading it. I'm not going to play it off. Before we sang, we spoke. Before we danced, we walked. Before we wrote, we told stories. Before we told stories, we lived. Those songs, dances, writings allow us to speak to one another across generations. They gave us an understanding of our commonality long before the DNA told us we are all part of one glorious procession. At any point on the timeline of human history, there are tales to be told of love and loss, glory and shame, profundity, and even profound stupidity. Tales that deserve retelling, embellishing, and if need be, inventing from whole cloth. This is our story. This is our song. If well sung, it tells us who we are and where we belong. And these people were all kinds of people from everywhere. Some lived in cities, some on farms, educated, ignorant, religious, sacrilegious, enslaved, and not. But even the unenslaved were oppressed, and they all wanted to be free. And the frontier represented freedom. Well, they sang songs and told stories, and what was in those stories was their exploits, their humor, and their aspirations. And some people sang and spoke with such depth that just listening and watching took you to the frontier of your own soul, picked you up, made you more alive. But this liberty was not free. Patrick Henry said, give me liberty or give me death. Many experienced death in the pursuit of liberty. Suddenly, all types of people appeared together. Geniuses, a thing never seen again. Virginian Thomas Jefferson, high-minded New Yorker Alexander Hamilton, Bostonian turned Philadelphian Ben Franklin, and the twilight of his brilliance, the living embodiment of down-home sophistication. Men arguing with epic intensity over money and trade and the rights of states, money and taxes and political power and money and slavery and religion and just about everything you knew or had ever heard of. Well, there was a lot of knowledge in that group and a lot of memory and all that comes with knowledge and memory, pride, arrogance, stubbornness. But don't let those wigs fool you. Oh, no. These men possessed a timeless wisdom and a willingness to act together. You see, somewhere along the way, they realized that their freedom was linked to other people's freedom. And with the art of the pen, they crafted the most flexible and poetic political document in human history. A sterling example of group improvisation on the grand human theme, how can I be me without keeping you from being you? That Constitution, the Bill of Rights, taught us how to negotiate our differences. The same way a good dance band adjusts to find the right tempo for each different room of dancers. To be effective, our founding fathers had to create a living document that could find the right tempo across the ages. And when the ink dried on the last signature, it was the Constitution that told us how to be. But it was left to the American arts to tell you who to be. And the who always affects the how. That's why this Constitution could be amended. Oh yes, this freedom had a fine political frame, but it was in need of a cultural engine. This new American way needed homegrown arts to make us into one people and to teach us who we are. Still revolutionary. The freedom to choose the life of your dreaming, to put yourself in the situation you wanted to be in or should be in. Man, this liberty was some serious stuff. Because once you turn freedom loose, there's just no telling where it might go. It showed up suddenly in Minton's Playhouse in 1940s. In 1940s Harlem. Geniuses all together. A thing never seen again. Charlie Yardbird Parker from Kansas City, the living embodiment of down-home sophistication. John Coltrane, he wasn't there. John Dizzy Gillespie from Cheraw, South Carolina, full of rhythmic fire and intellectual curiosity. Thelonious Monk from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, mathematician of music and master of thematic improvisation. Right there were all kinds of knowledge and memory and all the self-absorption that comes with those attributes. These men were furiously discussing American fundamentals through a musical style called bebop. And somewhere along the way, they answered questions about individual freedoms and collective responsibilities in the language of swing. When all was said and done, they did nothing less than create the new school of American virtuosity. It rose from the bowels of our caste system to demonstrate with sheer brilliance that who a person is always more definitive than what a person is. Oh, there's Bird and Dizzy and Monk, creating a community of people in the service of American objectives detailed by Jefferson, Madison, and Adams more than 150 years earlier. The urgency and speed of their music declared, now is the time.